Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I want to talk about Vivek Ramaswamy, and I want to talk about an incredible courage that was displayed in the film Godzilla Minus One, and talk about having the courage to have the hardest conversations about the reality elements that reflect on us and where we are currently at, right? And so I want to tell you this incredible truth that was placed, in my humble opinion, was placed in Godzilla Minus One by the Japanese people, and the courage they had to tell to have one of the hardest discussions I've ever seen, a cultural discussions I've ever seen, in the middle of a Godzilla film, and then how Vivek Ramaswamy should have that same conversation with the Republican Party, and how he could tell the Democrats to have that same conversation. So let's get into this. All right. So, what was this reality element that was placed at the center of Godzilla Minus One, and why was it incredibly courageous on the part of the Japanese people? So, first of all, spoilers for Godzilla Minus One here. Godzilla Minus One is a current release Japanese film that is a classic Godzilla movie if it was made in 2023 with its and released in Japan. And I got to see it on IMAX right here in the United States of America. And it's a 5 out of 5 star movie. You have to see it. It is amazing. But its main character is a kamikaze pilot, a Japanese kamikaze pilot who in World War II refused to do his duty, right? Like that's the way the country, the movie framed it. And so he returns alive, and everybody's like, you shouldn't even be here, or you should have done your duty, right? And what astounded me is then you watch this film where I, I'm not, this is not a joke. The Godzilla in this movie is better than any Godzilla that's ever been put on screen before. And the reason why is it's made to look like a man in a suit, just like they did in the Godzilla is literally 70 years old, right? So if we're in 20 and you go back 60, wait. That's 2025. It's 1505. Yeah. 1505, 95, 85, 75, 65, 55, 19. So Godzilla came out in 1955. Like that's astounding, right? Like and so but it's Godzilla looks like a man in a suit, but it's the most brilliant CGI you've ever seen. He looks like a real monster. It's incredible. It's like nothing I've ever seen. Um, and it's a Godzilla movie, but the Japanese are having this conversation saying this is what we did it wrong in World War II, and now in the Godzilla movie they're saying we were completely wrong to ever use kamikaze pilots, right? And they were like, we were completely wrong to not put ejection seats in our fighter jets, and we squandered human life, right? And the Japanese people are having this conversation in the middle of a Godzilla movie, right? And it's courageous and it's beautiful and it speaks to the human soul and says, and it shows what courage looks like in narrative and in cultural discourse, right? Astounding. So, what is the cultural truth we need to really embrace as um, as Republicans? We are incredibly dangerous to this nation because of our conservatism, right? So, one, conservatism is frequently linked to deep prejudice. Many people who are supporting President Donald Trump support him because he has made a haven for the most reprehensible, most prejudiced people in America, right? And we own that because right now, President Donald Trump owns the Republican Party, right? And I think Vivek Ramaswamy needs to open this discourse and say, all of us Americans, we must vote out President Donald Trump because he has built a haven for the most prejudiced of us. And we're doing that under the Republican banner, and that needs to be fixed, right? In addition to that, our conservatism means we don't want things to change, right? So it's hard to say we're progressive on the Republican side if we're literally dedicated to things not changing, right? So we have to reshape the Republican Party. And I think Vivek should tell everybody we need to reshape the Republican Party in a way where we are conservatism no more. What we want to do is we stand for family values and we stand for moral good, right? And that's going to be challenging. I get it, right? And it's going to be challenging because I want that to be based on evangelical Christian values, right? Vivek isn't an evangelical Christian. So is there a way to build a bridge across faiths, right? And Vivek is the perfect person to have that conversation. Is there an allyship between a person of faith who's not a Christian like Vivek Ramaswamy and someone like me who's an exclusionary Christian, right? Saying, hey, if you don't know Jesus, you ain't gonna be in heaven, right? Like that's gonna be a tough bridge, right? But we need to start. But this is the point. We have to have these incredibly difficult, courageous conversations and go all the way there. And that's my point. Like Godzilla, I didn't expect in Godzilla -1 that the Japanese people would have a very, robust conversation on cultural debt and on what they have done wrong, and say we're going to never do this again, right? But it's beautiful, and this is the power of narrative, right? And I think Vivek is a narrator in a way. He is a raconteur, right? And he can bring people together and tell a new story about the Republican Party and start this dialogue, this discourse that happens in Godzilla -1, for the Japanese people about their history in World War II. And Vivek really needs to say, hey, let's come together. Let's have a real conversation about how dangerous Republicans are to Americans, because we fundamentally don't want the world to change. And maybe we need to reshape the Republican Party so that the world is changing, but in good ways, right? And we are progressive, right? And I think that conversation is desperately, desperately needed. And then I also think Vivek, and I understand this is going to be hard for him, but he should find a Democrat who will listen and say, listen, you guys need to have this conversation too. And on your side, Democrats, what you guys need to realize is that you are fueling your entire party on unicorn dreams and pixie tears, and all your intentions are incredibly good, but you are outrageously destructive. When your dreams are seen, when what you want actually comes to fruition, everything burns. All right? And you guys are unintentionally the most dangerous force in America, right? And you've got to have a conversation. You have to acknowledge it before you can fix it, right? And so you have to go see Godzilla -1. And I think Vivek Ramaswamy needs to see that film as well, see the courage of having a real conversation about a really hard subject and talking about reality elements at their base form, right? And I think that's the issue, right? And I think Vivek can do it, and I think he should do it, and I think that's the best path forward. In fact, every single word of that is my humble opinion, and it doesn't matter half as much as when I get to your humble opinion when you put it down below in the comments. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.